Again? We are kneeling for the national anthem. Again? We are disrespecting the military. We are disrespecting the brave men and women who sacrificed their lives for your right to protest. We are disrespecting them by kneeling for the national anthem so we can protest myths and fantasies. Again? Correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm looking down here at the date on my laptop. According to my computer, today is November 30th in the year of our Lord 2024. This is not 2016, when our dearly beloved Colin Kaepernick realized that his NFL career was staring down the end of a very dark tunnel, with the faint light at the end of that tunnel being the light coming from the bruised caboose that was about to end his NFL career. This is not 2016, where Colin Kaepernick was able to trade in his helmet for a set of knee pads and launch a successful career as a political activist. This is not the summer of 2020, when it was in vogue to make the founders of BLM generationally wealthy. This is not the summer of woke love, when all the supposed cool kids were kneeling for the national anthem to combat mythical racism. There wasn't a crisis then, and there damn sure ain't a crisis now. So, I am incredibly confused as to why spoiled, pampered college athletes are kneeling for the national anthem to fight for the rights of a player that shouldn't even be there, or to combat mythical racism without defining where the racism is that they are combating. You know, I don't have a lot of patience with kids. I don't have a lot of patience in general, but my lack of patience, it is magnified when it comes to kids. Now, I have patience with my own. I have patience with my nephews. But other people's kids, they typically get on my nerves. A couple of weeks ago, we were at church, and there was a group of kids in the row in front of us talking throughout the service, playing around, showing off their doofusness. I'm big on time and place. If this was happening on the playground, no big deal. If it's happening at a funeral, if it's happening during church, I have no tolerance for it. But I don't blame the kids. I can't get mad at a kid for being a kid. Kids have no self-awareness. Kids are ignorant. And I don't mean ignorant in a bad way. They're not intellectually challenged. They just don't know any better. They're kids. They have no life experience. They don't understand decorum. They have to be taught how to behave. I don't blame the kids for being kids during church. I blame the parents. When I was a kid and I would get aggravated with my parents for embarrassing me in public, when I would get mad at them for correcting my juvenile behavior, my mom would always say, "Your behavior is a direct reflection on me." I hated when she said that, and I never understood what she meant until I got older. The behavior of a child, it is a direct reflection of what the parents allow the child to get away with. Same thing with coaches and players, especially at the high school and the collegiate level. Hell, it's really the same at the professional level too. Players will get away with what the coach allows them to get away with. Case in point, Zion Williamson, who we will be talking about later today on the second channel. Yesterday, during the Mountain West Conference tournament in volleyball, 3 players from Colorado State, they kneeled during the playing of the national anthem. Now, obviously, most people are criticizing the players, which is fine. That's fine. They definitely deserve to be criticized for their blatant showing of disrespect. But the players are only partially responsible. The bulk of the responsibility, it falls on the coach, the adult, who allowed this to happen. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. Like I said, going to be talking about Zion Williamson on the second channel today. DeMarcus Cousins, he made some comments this week basically absolving Zion Williamson of any responsibility for being the biggest draft bust of his generation. My stance on this might surprise you, so be sure to check out the video on the second channel later this afternoon. And let's go ahead and get to the video of these young women from Colorado State kneeling for the national anthem. This footage, it was taken yesterday before their conference tournament game against against, who cares who it was against? As you're about to see, they couldn't even get friends and family to care because no one showed up to this game. Watch it for yourself. Obviously, thousands of people on social media were pissed off about this, and rightfully so. I thought we had moved past this. I thought we had moved past kneeling for the national anthem as a sign of protest. I mean, what happened to the old-fashioned methods of protesting? Remember Occupy Wall Street, where thousands of people camped out on Wall Street for weeks without bathing to protest against people who work for a living? Or what about the protesters who would block the streets? Remember how they would hold hands and block traffic from proceeding down the street so they could protest? Hell, who knows what they were protesting? They were probably protesting because the dollar menu at McDonald's became the $5 menu and their minimum wage could not keep up with the inflation. Even though those protests were annoying and ineffective, it goes back to time and place. The time and place to protest is not during the playing of the national anthem. Now, you could make the case that protesting during the national anthem is less invasive than protest in the streets, and you're probably right, but it's a hell of a lot more disrespectful to the men and women who sacrificed their lives so you have the right to protest. Initially, people thought these young women were kneeling for the national anthem to support Blaire Fleming. Now, for those that don't know, Blaire Fleming was formerly known as Braden Fleming. At an undisclosed time and location, Braden decided to become Blair and fulfill their dreams of becoming a star women's volleyball player. Long story short, young women in the Mountain West, they have been forfeiting games all season, including games in the conference tournament, because they refuse to compete against Blair. Colorado State. Colorado State is one of the few programs that supports the inclusion of Blaire Fleming. Matter of fact, the players who were kneeling for the national anthem yesterday, they have been accused of conspiring with Blaire Fleming to injure Brooke Slusser, one of the teammates of Blaire Fleming at San Jose State, who disagrees with the inclusion of the artist formerly known as Braden. So, it's understandable why people would believe that these women from Colorado State are kneeling for the national anthem to support their aspiring sister, Blair. But according to their coach, her players are not kneeling to support the Fighting Flemings. Her players aren't kneeling to support the rights of Braden Fleming to become Blair and dominate women's volleyball while trouncing on the rights of other women. No! According to the volleyball coach at Colorado State, the supposed leader of the team, the adult who is responsible for looking after these young women when their parents send them off to college, according to the adult in the room, these women, they were not disrespecting the military to support Blaire Fleming. Their actual cause was far greater. These young women, they were kneeling for the national anthem to combat mythical racism.
They've knelt for 5 years, right? They've knelt since their freshman year when the Black Lives Matter movement was going on. And, again, in this program, we raise critical thinkers to be able to make decisions for what's important to them. And for those three, right, they're Black players that it's been important to them for 5 years.
Wait a minute. Let me make sure I am understanding you correctly. There have been more eyes on women's volleyball in the Mountain West Conference this year than probably at any other point in their history. Colorado State is one of the few teams that have agreed to play the Fighting Flemings this season. And you mean to tell me your players have been kneeling during the national anthem all season and not one time has anyone noticed? Not one time has anyone even taken a picture. Maybe she's right. Maybe she is telling the truth. I don't watch football in the Mountain West Conference, much less volleyball, so I should probably take her word for it. But I'm just having a real hard time biting into the shit sandwich that she's serving. I'm also having a hard time believing that this protest is about mythical racism and not about Blaire Fleming. But for the sake of argument, let's assume that these young women are combating mythical racism. Where is it? Where is the racism that they're protesting against? The coach mentioned BLM. I have not seen BLM in years. I would imagine that these young women are attending Colorado State on full scholarships. I would imagine that they are living for free. Bills are paid, tuition is paid, books are paid by someone else. Again, where is the racism? Did they experience racism during games? Were fans heckling them in the crowd? If so, I find that hard to believe because there was no one in the crowd. That was a crowd of empty seats, not a crowd of people. Are these young women from Colorado State, are they responsible for their own actions? Are they responsible for kneeling for the national anthem? Absolutely. But the bulk of the responsibility, it falls on the coach who allowed this to happen. If the coach wanted to stop this, she could have stopped it. If I was the dean at Colorado State, I would fire that coach today. Get that mentality out of my university. Now, obviously, that is not going to happen because that mentality, it is not only accepted at Woke U, it's encouraged. Give me your thoughts on this. Supporters of Blaire Fleming kneel for the national anthem. When the coach is asked about it, she claims that her players were protesting mythical racism. Who do you blame? The players? The coach? Both? I look at this a little bit differently than I would at the professional level. I am not absolving the players of their actions, but I place most of the blame on the coach. These are college kids. They're young. They're impressionable. I put most of the blame on the coach, the adult who allowed this to happen. What about you? Sound off in the comments below. Best way to contact me is through email, btlkc84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys later.